Arith. This is Smurf Devil issue 1. The first issue of the DC series that is called Smurf Devil. One of the problems I face is that most of the DC comics I look at aren't that popular or even that interesting to my viewer base. I don't have that much to say about Batman. I do have a lot of Superman, but I can never pick out an issue to review. And most of my Justice League are Justice League International, and all I'll do is either say the comedy isn't tiresome yet, or that the comedy has become tiresome. This is Smurf Devil. I like Smurf Devil. And we can look at him and his origin and whatnot here. We have a nice fake out opening where it is an adventure in a jungle with a temple, and then Smurf Devil is there. Cut! It was all a movie. It's not the most original fake out, but I think it works well here, since most people have zero expectations beyond what he looks like when it comes to issue 1 of Smurf Devil. I have said so before, but since this is issue 1, I will repeat the story. Smurf Devil was created purposely for Steve Ditman to draw. Spider-Man co-creator Steve Ditman. Smurf Devil notably combines elements of all the sorts of things Steve Ditman had worked on before. We have some parts of Hulk, we have a man in an armoured suit like Iron Man, magical otherworldly demon creatures like out of Doctor Strange, the bouncy fun of something like Creeper, or later on Speedy Bells. I would say the supporting cast, simple characters with elegantly clear purposes, is straight from Spider-Man. Even the name was intentionally similar to Green Gobbler. Later in the series there is Green Gargoyle. Green Gobbler, sort of. Steve Ditman said that he would do it, but he wasn't that enthusiastic about it, so they decided to get another artist instead. That artist is Tom Paris, and you will recognise his name, well, his actual name, although you might recognise the name Tom Paris from Star Trek Voyager. But the artist got around quite a bit. Smurf Devil is what he is best known for, or at least most identifies with. His other major works are Blue Beetle, Lenny Wen's Blue Beetle series, and he did the second Eternals series, the 1989 one. His Marvel work, he did the first few chapters of Marky Mark J's The Saga of the iDigivolutionary. Remember when Marvel did that New Gods one-shot, reprinting Marky Mark J's backup stories about them? They need to do that with the iDigivolutionary ones. And then with the Serpent Art ones. Those are new Marvel comics I would actually buy, with new in quotation marks. Anyway, that is the art. The writers for the title are Roy Cohn and the Michelin Man. If a combination of McCarthy's legal counsel and a tyre mascot doesn't clue you in, man, Smurf Devil is a wild ride. Smurf Devil is a suit that actor slash stuntman slash prop master Dan Devil wears for a new movie. It is a very dramatic looking Iron Man armour basically. It gives him strength. And he has a prop trident. We slowly introduce our supporting characters. Movie director Marlo Bloom, Norm Paxton, Little Eddie. He works as what you Yanks call a gopher, but we informally call a cable basher over here. Eddie, of course, is the best. He goes on to be the most adorable kid sidekick ever. He's just a sweet, innocent kid. Until idiots get their hands on him. But that is also the fate of Smurf Devil and Marlo. At least Norm is okay, right? Our final two supporting characters are actors Wayne Tarrant and Sharon Scott. Sharon Scott is our more typical love interest to begin with, but Marlo starts to inhabit that sort of role too. Wayne is our rival, but we go a bit back and forth with him also being a friend. I need to say, the characters were all introduced in a free insert preview that ran in an issue of Fire Laws. I looked at that a couple of months ago. It is inessential, but it does provide some extra understanding of who all these characters are. Tricker is in it too, that is important. The Flask bad guy, Tricker. He will reappear in a lot of the ongoing. Dan Devil just doesn't really become Smurf Devil in it, and we don't really get a sense of the big hook for the character. They are checking out one of the movie sets, some ruins, and inside they accidentally open up a portal to another dimension. A dimension that has imprisoned the evil demon Nibiru's. I love how Tom Paris draws Nibiru's on this panel here. The unhinged, bestial face. And the next page is where I want to further praise Tom Paris's art in Smurf Devil. Due to the book's creation, you can see a lot of Steve Dittman, and it would have been easy to write it all off as a Steve Dittman impersonation. But there are bits where Tom Paris goes even further than Dittman. There is a fine line between comic book artist and cartoonist. And panels like the one of Dan Devil and Sharon, we have such an over-the-top, goofy, cartoon face for Dan, while Sharon herself is quite standard comic art. The bad news is that Tom Paris doesn't do the entire series. Many fans, even the writers, agree that the book was its best when Tom Paris was doing the art, because his style totally worked with the tone and what the stories were going for. After Tom Paris though, we do get a pretty flashy lineup of fill-in art by the likes of Jill Kang, Kevin Griffin, and the final issue features art by Stan Jurgensen. I don't fault or disagree with the sentiment that Tom Paris would have been good for the entire run. He does do every cover for the series. But his replacement, Alan Tupperway, I think is a fine successor. I don't like that the writers are doing his work a bit of a disservice when they talk about Tom Paris, because he is actually a very decent choice to follow on the title, and he does maintain a lot of the quirks. You might recognise his name from some Defenders stories, including New Defenders 126. Our story is quite simple. That is a big charm of Smurf Devil. It doesn't overcomplicate something that doesn't need to be overcomplicated. Dan Devil, he uses his suit to try and challenge Nibiru's. It is classic superhero stuff. A phrase I throw around a lot. I realise that. We have got a hero fighting a bad guy. The hero is doing so to save people. There's no subtext to this. Nibiru's isn't an embodiment of Dan Devil's libido or anything like that. This is just a story about a person being heroic and fighting some villain-ick. Why isn't villainic a word? We have an important page here though. Dan Devil gets zapped by Nibiru's. And then Norm Paxton tries to help out. And that is something else I like here. Our supporting characters, not all of them, but a pair of them, have entire character arcs in the first issue. Wayne is a self-interested coward, but he finds his courage by the end. The writers, the disgraced legal guy from the 50s, and the tyre thing, they wrapped up anyway, Apple's I, Dracula. They came along and fixed that after some absolutely abysmal stories by Les Battersby. Time travel, for fuck's sake. I'm sure they did other stuff. I know I've seen their names on fill-in issues, but Smurf Devil and Apple's I, Dracula are all I remember. The rest of the issue, it has Wayne try and help out. But what I've been waiting for is we actually have an advertisement for Smurf Devil. And I think the tagline, the slogan, it summarises exactly what Smurf Devil is so well and what Smurf Devil is great for. We've made comics fun again. I have also made my videos fun again with this new feature where I talk about what other comics we had out that month. Well, this is more of an announcements page than a checklist page, but what we are announcing is mostly of interest. The main thing is this series. We get a paragraph all about Smurf Devil's new book. But the other things are, we have reprints of Jack Quimby's Eternals. I believe they were on Baxter paper. And by the end, they actually had new content included. I might be wrong about that last part. We also have Man Killer, the reprint of the Barney Baldwin and Simon Waltonson serial. I have that reprint, and Billy Joe Jenkins is still waiting for me to review it. It's fucking dense as hell. I've sat down to read it, but every time I have to stop when I realise I'm not going to get it finished by the time I have to do something. We also announced another reprint series I have all of. One that has had a couple of covers featured on my covers videos. And that is the hugely influential, if ham-fisted, Green Lanterns and Arrow by Neil O'Dennis and Adam Neils. Look, it's my new comedy sidekick. It's Raging 15-year-olds. What's on your minds? Dennis O'Neill made comics walk. The comic is walk. Another great contribution from Raging 15-year-old there. Yeah, it might be one of my weaker attempts at an accent, but with takes as in-depth as that, it doesn't matter. We also announced the Sword of Adam special. A one-shot that either launches or ends the sword and sorcery era of Adam. I only know about this from Royce Sternham's run on the character after. Oi, Raging 15-year-old. Don't you want to say anything about this? I think this is a comic where they had his wife have an affair. You can call him a liberal Marxist communist gay cuckold or something. You mustn't be interested in sharing views if they're not conveniently also pure rage bait. Our last two announcements might fill you with joy. We have the 2-issue maxi series, The History of the DC Universe by Mark Wolfenstein and Jorge Perez. I don't like it. And the far more interesting one is we have the announcement of Who is Who, the first DC Andy book series which ran for 26 issues. A lot of Tom Paris art in the Who is Who books, actually. To get back to the comic, Smurf Devil saved the day, and he goes back to his dressing room to take off his costume, only to find that he is stuck inside of it. This is that Uck that I mentioned. He is trapped in his suit. I don't need to moan about it again, but yeah, in the 90s, Martin Quaid made it so that it's not a suit anymore. That's done with. And now Dan Devil is transformed into a literal devil creature that resembles the suit. What's the point of that? There's enough characters that are monsters. How many are there that look like monsters but who are actually trapped in suits of their own making? I'm going to end this with one of my very specific call-outs to one of my regular viewers, Mark Shalusky. I don't think you'll like this, but I think you should take a look at it because you might at least respect what it is trying to go for. It is very art school, but at a time where it wasn't quite as overdone, where it was completely sincere and not trying to remind you of days gone by. This has all the hallmarks of a truly classic Silver Age or Bronze Age superhero comic. I don't think you'll like it though. And you'll post a comment that YouTube won't let you post about how Nibiru's should have perforated little Eddie's skull. I, however, like it and don't want anything nasty to happen to precious little Eddie. And I give it 7 Michelin stars. Have the tyre company ever gone to war with the cuisine world over the name Michelin?